Welcome back to CHIRLA TV. My name is Diana Lucero.
I'm Edgar Aguilar.
And today we have a legal attorney from CHIRLA joining us. Welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, thanks guys for having me. My name is Karla Aguayo, and I am a senior staff attorney at CHIRLA.
How long have you been with CHIRLA?
I've been with the organization since October 2012, so over 6 years now.
Wow, 6 years with CHIRLA. So how did you start getting involved with CHIRLA, CHIRLA's legal department?
So I was actually brought on initially to be a volunteer intern because, as you recall, kind of what was happening in October 2012 was DACA had just kind of hit in August. So 2 months later, CHIRLA was still being bombarded with cases. So that's when I was brought on, and then I was actually hired to be staff.
So you brought up DACA. Can you refresh us on what it is that DACA is?
Sure. So DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and it was an executive action announced by President Obama at the time. So June 2012, and it came into effect August 2012, and it is an executive action that protects certain so-called dreamers from deportation.
So you mentioned that DACA was first introduced in 2012, correct? Yes. Where is it now politically?
So with the new administration, unfortunately, there were some changes. The Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions, in September of 2017, actually went ahead and rescinded the DACA program. Through several lawsuits since then, we have been able to get injunctions through the court, and those have allowed renewals to come back. So USCIS, or the immigration system, is actually accepting renewals from people who have previously had DACA, so they can go ahead and renew their work permits.
And it is my understanding that at CHIRLA, people can go to the office and get help with the DACA process when it comes to renewals, right? There's no new applications being accepted, but if they want to renew their DACA, they can come to the CHIRLA office, and attorneys like yourself will be there to give them a hand.
Correct. So USCIS is not accepting new applications. So for those people who've never applied, unfortunately, there's no relief through DACA right now. But if you need to renew your permit, then we help DACA recipients renew their permits Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We guarantee service to the first 20 people in line. So again, and that's at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Awesome. Can we talk a little bit about the legal department at CHIRLA? When did it get started?
We started the legal department again as a result of the need when DACA came about. So June 2012 is when CHIRLA sprang to action, put together some great people to start the legal department. It started with about 4 people, and at this point we're about 35 staff. So
you say that CHIRLA started the legal department in 2012, and since then it is my understanding that CHIRLA has helped over 10,000 people renew their DACA?
Correct.
That is amazing, and out of those 10,000, I understand that there is about 3,000 which have been completely covered by CHIRLA. That is not only the legal consultation, the process, but also covering the USCIS fees.
Yes. That's awesome. How much does it cost to apply for DACA?
Right now the cost is $495, and you have to remember that that's every 18 months, really, because people should be applying around 6 months before their permit expires. So that's a lot of money to have to come up with every 18 months.
That's right. I mean, if you're working a minimum wage job and you work full time, that's a week's worth of pay, and that's something you have to pay every 2 years. So how does CHIRLA come up with the money to pay for over almost $3,495 worth of applications?
Well, CHIRLA is lucky enough to be situated in California. So as a result of the rescission of DACA, the state kind of stepped up and said, we want to help as much as we can. And they were able to award us funding. And it's through that funding that we've been able to cover the USCIS fees for almost 3,000 people.
Wow, it's amazing. So you're being funded by the government and also by your membership base as well. You get the great support from the community. So it is amazing what CHIRLA is doing right now. We're going to continue this conversation about the DACA and the renewals with Karla Aguayo. So stay tuned here at CHIRLA TV. Welcome back to CHIRLA TV, the immigrant voice. We are here today discussing DACA with Karla Aguayo, the senior staff attorney at CHIRLA. So, Karla, thank you so much for being here with us again. We're very happy that you're here. And before the break, we were talking about how CHIRLA has been helping a lot of people renew their DACA, almost 3,000 people. But we want to continue pushing for more renewals. What can we do?
So like I said, they can come to the office Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays to get assistance with their DACA renewals. Unfortunately, you know, all good things come to an end, so our funding is running dry. So, you know, there might be a day where people come and we won't be able to cover the USCIS fees anymore. However, in February of this year, we went ahead and launched a campaign. It's aimed to fundraise funds to be able to continue helping DACA recipients cover those USCIS fees, because as you mentioned, as I said, the cost is almost $500, and you mentioned that's a person's entire wage salary for a week. And so that, you know, is very prohibitive for some people. We have a lot of families that have multiple DACA recipients. So $500 for one person, imagine if there's 2, 3, 4 siblings, then we're talking about almost $2,000, right?
Right. Right. I think it's really impactful that CHIRLA was able to start the help and with the help of the California, right? So this money was able to be used for only California residents, is that correct?
Yes, so our funding is limited to be able to provide services for California residents.
Okay. So what is the action plan now? What is CHIRLA going to do to continue to help this community the way it has?
So right now we're actually calling on the audience, calling on our members to come out and help us fundraise to be able to continue helping DACA recipients. So like I said, it's almost $500, which means that if we can get 10 people to donate $50 or 50 people to donate $10, then we'll be able to cover one you know, DACA application. So if we just get our communities out and interested in helping, because DACA really does make a huge impact in someone's life. And so to be able to go from once having DACA to no longer having that protection, it makes a huge difference in someone's life in a negative way.
What's the danger if you were to lose your DACA?
Well, again, you know, DACA is that it's deferred action, which means protection from deportation. So if you no longer have that protection, then that means that you're exposed at any time to deportation, to being placed in removal proceedings. So that's something that we want to avoid. We don't want the cause of that to be money, right? So if we can help that, if the audience out there can help us prevent that, then that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's what we need right now. We need people to visit CHIRLA.org and make a donation. You'll find a button there, donate as much as you can. It's really, really necessary for CHIRLA to continue to provide the services that they do for all the DACA renewals. I know that there's people who come from really far in California, all the way from Anaheim, all the way from Porterville, really, really far out regions, not here in the LA County, but they come, they line up at the CHIRLA office really early in the morning. Sometimes I've heard that people line up around
the night before.
The night before. They spend the night in line outside of the CHIRLA office in order to get the opportunity to renew their DACA. And CHIRLA is doing something really amazing, which was covering the UCIS fees. However, as like you mentioned, the funds are running dry, we need to boost that with the help of everybody at home, everybody who's watching us online, at home, or just visit CHIRLA.org, come to the office, and make your contribution so that more students, more people can renew their DACA and continue to continue their education, their jobs, everything that they have here, they have built. As you mentioned, $500 sometimes is a little much for a family to cover.
Especially if they have multiple DACA recipients. So folks, please reach out. Like we said, anything can make the difference, whether it's $10 or $5. This would really help improve somebody's life and continue to move forward with their lives. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that you come back.
Thank you, I will.
Thank you, Karla. Welcome back to CHIRLA TV, the immigrant voice. We're gonna continue here our conversation about DACA and the DREAM Act. And for that, we're joined by two wonderful guests from CHIRLA. We have Jorge Galindo, who is a legal assistant at CHIRLA, and also Manuel Jimenez, or Manny, who is with the California Dream Network. It's very peculiar. They both started as volunteers at CHIRLA. They have a very similar story in how they got involved, but let's hear about it. How are you guys doing today?
I am well. Again, I'm Jorge Galindo. Thank you for having me today. I'm very happy to share the space with you. I'm a fan. I've seen the show. I love the way you guys do
Well, thank you.
everything. So
Need the most, right?
I need, well, both. I need an autograph from both of you later.
Okay.
But as you said, I started as a volunteer at CHIRLA in 2000. I started in 2011, but I got very active in 2012, right after DACA was announced. Right, and so at the time, they were looking for interns to help us push forward, the plans that CHIRLA had in response to the announcement. Right, there was going to be changes. You've had Karla on the show. She did mention how that was one of the main reasons why the legal department exists today. And now I'm lucky enough to be able to work for CHIRLA within the legal department and be able to see the world from this other perspective.
Let me ask you something. Why did you decide to align yourself with CHIRLA?
Why? Well, that's a wonderful question. I think the moment that I went into college and I realized that it was very difficult. It was a lot more difficult to be able to get the resources to be able to see myself getting to where I wanted to be. I realized that I needed the support from organizations like CHIRLA. And luckily at the time they did offer me the internship. And I learned so much from it that I decided to just stick to it. In comparison to where before DACA, right? I remember myself as a 13-year-old street vendor. It was so much different, right? I never thought that I would one day get to help my community and give back in this way.
That's awesome. Can we hear from you as well? Why is it that you chose yourself to align yourself with CHIRLA?
Of course. So my name is Manuel Jimenez. Thank you for having me today. So I started volunteering with CHIRLA because a friend had informed me that there was an internship taking place. I think it was back in 2017. And with the internship, I grew as a person. And before that, me being a DACA recipient, I was able to see the perspective of the struggle and the issue that was going on in our community. My sister, she grew up without DACA. She grew up before AB 130, 131. So she wasn't able to go to college, and she wasn't as privileged as myself. So I had to, I would say, advocate in a sort of way and involve myself in la comunidad. And through CHIRLA, I was able to express myself in the sense that I was able to help my community. I was able to grow. And right now, I think I've been with CHIRLA now, I'm about to be 2 years volunteering post-internship. So it's been an amazing experience being with CHIRLA.
That's awesome. I'm sensing a little bit of deja vu. They both internship and now they're really getting engaged and involved with CHIRLA. And I also understand that both of you have gotten the opportunity to not just advocate at the local level, but also at the state level, going to Sacramento, and also at the federal level, going all the way to Washington, D.C. Can you share a little bit about that experience?
Personally, I did have the opportunity to work with the city of Glendale to move forward policy for a sanctuary type of wording within legislation, and to be able to open resource centers across the state. So that's something that I've taken part in, and it's all thanks to DACA, right? It gives you that opportunity to connect with other students and to be able to look for these resources, right? What good is it to have a California DREAM Act, AB 130, 131, or AB 540, if there's no way to centralize that information and help others, right? So that's one of the campaigns, but I think Manny should definitely touch on the advocacy in Sacramento.
Yeah, so in the different trips that we've taken to Sacramento and Washington, D.C., we've lobbied in various different representatives' office, most importantly the ones that we were able to kick out. So seeing throughout the 2 years that I've been volunteering with CHIRLA, I was able to see the transition of the different phases of how the different campaigns have been implemented into these trips, in how we've been successful at every single phase, every single trip, how we've been successful in every single district by kicking these representatives out and replacing them with more progressive ones.
So with that, I want to come back a little bit. I want to hear more about what it is that you guys, how it is that someone gets involved and start to lobby for a progressive immigrant movement. So we'll be right back after this break.
Welcome back. Today we have Manny and Galindo joining us. And we really want to continue the conversation on how it is. We've heard your history and how you got involved with CHIRLA. So we're talking about how you've helped CHIRLA. How is it that CHIRLA has helped you?
Well, as a DACA recipient, right, I did touch a little bit on the fact that I was there when the announcement was made and how we started preparations to be able to help other potential DACA beneficiaries at the time. So through the internship, all the involvement that you know the interns had, we were given the opportunity to actually be part of the first cohort who applied at CHIRLA. So they gave us a golden ticket, and we were there very anxious, very excited to be, you know, one of the first people to ever submit, you know, the application for this program. We didn't know what the odds were like. We didn't know if it was something that in the long run would be negative for us in our immigration status, but you know, luckily things turned out well. But it was all thanks to CHIRLA and you know, folks like Karla and the legal department that were able to aid myself and many others after that. As you know, you mentioned in the other section, 10,000 people. That's a lot of people, and luckily I am one of those people, so I'm very grateful.
Are you also one of those 10,000?
Yes, definitely. So I started volunteering with CHIRLA during the time where DACA was rescinded. So the experience is completely different. So when you started volunteering with CHIRLA, I started at a time where we hit the ground running, okay. And it was an experience that it was completely new in the sense that like I didn't know what was going to happen. And well, with CHIRLA, I was able to like 7 months after DACA was rescinded, I was able to reapply for the renewal for my work permit through and be one of the 10,000 that applied for it and renewed for the work permit. And I was extremely grateful because, you know, without this work permit, I wouldn't be able to work, obviously, pay for my college. I wouldn't be able to help my parents out. Most importantly, my mom, who like she's a single mother, so I wouldn't be able to help her pay for the rent or various bills throughout the household.
So it sounds like there is a real struggle that people are going through at the moment with right now with not being able to start their DACA process, but at least the people who are able to renew it get the opportunity to come to CHIRLA and get the advice and the help they need to renew it. And as we've been mentioning, CHIRLA was able to, for some period of time, cover the whole UCIS fees. Was that something that CHIRLA was able to assist you with as well?
Actually, CHIRLA was able to cover the entire like application fee. Like, so it's around like $500. It's something that's very difficult for like most families to get, like $500 on the time period that they gave you to renew. It was something very difficult to get. So what CHIRLA covered, it helped me and helped thousands of other DACA recipients to reapply for this.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories. And can we just highlight again, like what it was like before DACA for you?
I think the first time that we ever applied for DACA, we actually didn't have funding for that to cover the filing fees. CHIRLA did help for free, right? The legal services were free. But I do remember specifically that first time that I had to decide. You know, I had a little bit of scholarship money. At the time, we couldn't work, right? Obviously, we didn't have a work permit. So I did have to choose, right? The question was, do I take the 400, at the time it was 465, and I remember having to take some of that money from scholarships to be able to pay for the application when, you know, I actually did need the money to pay for transportation, books. It gets very expensive to go to school.
So you had to make a choice between studying and staying in school or applying for your work permit.
Exactly, yeah.
Did you have to make a choice like that in your situation?
For me, I was in high school at the time, so I would say my experience is completely different to many of yours, in the sense that I was privileged that I was still in high school. I wasn't working at the time. I remember my mom actually going around the whole house, like looking for every single calificaciones, like the grades, since I was in like pre-K. So the experience of her collecting the money, saving up the money, and then bam, putting in the fees for the paperwork, for everything. And I was scared because I wasn't sure if I was going to go to college. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find a stable job to be able to afford college.
So we do have, just like Manny, just like Galindo, a lot of different stories, just like Diana's as well. A lot of people who need to renew their DACA, and at CHIRLA they can do it. But they cannot do it if CHIRLA cannot afford it. And one of the ways that you can help is by making a contribution. Visit CHIRLA.org so that you can make a contribution, make a small donation, a little gift, any cent counts, so that more people can come to the office and get their DACA renewed as soon as possible, and they can continue their life as peaceful as this allows.
So thank you again for sharing your story. You're two very powerful individuals, and it's really nice to see some male representatives out in the movement, because normally it's POC females out in the front lines. So thank you for joining us, folks, as well. And we hope you join us for the next episode. See you next time.